Hi students. Today we are looking at our final textbook for the semester. We will still be reading two of the other textbooks, but this is our last new one. And for today, I will only be speaking about the introduction and a little bit of background about this book, Transforming Communities. It is a really powerful book. The author, Shonda Rani Jha, is Reverend, and she also works at the Oakland Peace Center as the director. And so we have a local author who is writing about this book, who writes this book, Transforming Communities, and is utilizing stories and almost little essays from other people that have transformed their communities to demonstrate the power we have as a community to make a difference. And that's really what the introduction is about. She starts the book with a story about a priest who his nickname is Arizmendi, and it takes place in 1943 or 1950-ish. And basically it's about after the wake of the Spanish Civil War. Father Arizmendi comes in to a country that has been torn apart by fighting, civil strife, poverty, all sorts of issues. And he's coming in with this idea of building something to almost fix the issues, but not quite. It's not about fixing, it's more about healing. And this ties back into our notions of restorative justice and transformative justice from our larger social justice textbook. And there's this notion that the world can be a mess. We see all these bad things happening and we feel helpless. What can I do as an individual? Well, I can make a difference with the relationships to those around me, but what can I do in the larger setting to make a difference? And that's what Father Arizmendi was facing. Although he was trained as a sociologist and he was also ordained as a Catholic priest, he was also just a guy that wanted to make a difference in his community. And so on page 2 to 3 of the textbook, there are some key points that Reverend Jha points out in her introduction about his specific case. One, and they're not listed with numerals, they're listed with bullet notes or bullet points, but I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. So the first one is he learned to assess the deep economic burden as the primary cause for despair and hopelessness in his community. He recognized that the war had hurt the community because of the economic strains. And so in recognizing that, he had an area of what to target to make better. Second, he learned to circumnavigate existing assumptions of community leaders and catalyze change on his own. So he tried to get the local businesses in the town to hire outside of their own families, to work with the larger community, and to create apprenticeship programs. And he failed to do that. People became very insular and were just protecting their immediate family situations. So he had to think of something larger for the community, a co-op or a corporation for the community. And that leads us to the third bullet point. He learned to connect people's faith with the way they live their lives together in the community. And he preached about work as an opportunity to be faithful and to care for others through teaching them job skills. And so what he did was he created this corporation, the Mondragon Corporation, and it was a model on a huge scale of how they could serve the larger community rather than just focusing on insular family units. And to this day, this corporation still has some key points in terms of how they serve the community. And those are listed on page 3 through 4. And so there's education, sovereignty is of the labor, the members owning the corporation, participation and management by the employees, a democratic organization of all workers seen as equal stakeholders. And like I said, there's a list of 10. And this model is actually used to help, it provides the basis or the inspiration for a bakery in Oakland. And the author talks about that on page 4. And incidentally enough, the bakery is named Arizamendi. And there's a little footnote at the bottom of page 4. And so the author sets the tone for this entire book about how restorative justice, transformative justice, community-driven decision-making can change and lead you from a lot of conflicts or hardships to a type of harmony in which we are all caring for each other. And that's what each chapter in this book is going to focus on. And in different areas of our nation, different states and cities, and different ideologies or instances. And a key point you should really get from this introduction is this notion of love over redemption, and that we must fix problems from the inside out. So although protests and sit-ins and all sorts of demonstrable forms of activism is important, our author is very quick to point out that that's one step of the process. And the next step, or a later step, is that the community itself has to recognize that they want something better, that there is an issue, and then that issue is fixed from the community moving outward, rather than from outsiders coming into the community and trying to assess and fix the situation. So she provides a different model in which the initiative starts from that community, and if outsiders join, they join with the premise that they are supporting the leaders and the community that is already in place, more as laborers or helpers and less as, oh, I'm going to take over, I'm going to assess the situation. So if you have any questions about the introduction, reach out to me via email.